Welcome to the Film Geezers podcast. Ho ho ho, and welcome to the Film Geezers Christmas podcast special.
That wasn't pre-planned, by the way, he just did it.
And so yeah, today, as you can imagine, being Christmas Eve, we're gonna look at some of our favourite Christmas movies.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's going to be a lot on there that people, like for example, Elf.
Yeah. What's the thing with Christmas movies? Everyone has their favourites.
I can't stand Will Ferrell.
Yeah, me
can't
either.
stand watching him.
I know it's probably blasphemous for like a couple of people, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So it's our own personal list.
Yeah.
So we're going to get the ball rolling with Jack Frost, 1998 film starring Michael Keaton, fresh from Batman. Because actually, George Clooney was initially cast in the role, and he actually left to go and make Batman and Robin. And that's what you
shit
see
show that was
in. So the CGI of the Snowman,
Yeah.
its actual facial features were made to look like Clooney and have his kind of mannerisms, and then they had to redo it all. Because that was Jim Henson's workshop did the CGI, and then there was there was like a puppet, and then there was also someone in a costume which was like polystyrene.
No, it was Jack Frost, Dad.
But essentially, the story is that Michael Keaton's this wannabe musician, isn't he? And he's constantly missing out on his kids' stuff, neglecting his family. And the last thing, I think he misses out on his son's ice hockey match to go and play a gig which could lead to a record contract, but then he has a change of heart, and whilst driving home he dies in a car crash. I think before leaving, he gave his son a harmonica which he bought when his kid was born, and said it's magical, and that if he ever needs him, he just has to play this harmonica, and he does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And because I think the Christmas before they'd built a snowman together, and so he builds a snowman and plays his harmonica, and the spirit of his dead father is transferred into this snowman. And it's a bullshit story, really. It's
no Shawshank.
No.
But for me personally, I always put it on every year.
Yeah.
I just love this film.
I mean, it's kind of a feel-good film. What I
Yeah.
find it's a bit disjointed. Is that you've got scenes in there which kind of just seem slapped together. The fact that he's got his snowman dad, he helps him escape from bullies, doesn't he?
Yeah.
This snowball fight.
Yeah.
And there's this James Bond-esque ski chase. And then he helps him get on the ice hockey team as well?
It is, yeah.
And yeah, so it is. And then right at the end, obviously he's melting.
Yeah,
so
it's a fucking sad movie.
they move the snowman to the mountains.
Yeah.
And I think then he has this kind of heartfelt goodbye with his wife. And it is sad in a way, but it is...
It's sad, but you also... It's a bit ridiculous because it's a talking snowman.
Yeah.
But no, like I said, I like this. Like I said, it's not a good film in the sense of maybe the traditional ways you judge a film. But like I said, I put it on every Christmas, and plus it is that it's a Christmas film. It feels Christmassy, it puts you in a Christmas mood, and I think that's all you can ask really from a Christmas film. And yeah, it is funny. I don't know if that's because I'm a kid or I have the mind of a kid, but it's just funny to see a talking snowman.
But again, it is nostalgia. It's films that you watch growing up that you tend to then watch with your own kids, and then that becomes a tradition.
But like I said, it's always on the household, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So every year.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I gave it 2.5 stars or something.
I'd give it around that, yeah. Don't, like I said, don't expect Godfather levels of story writing, but No, it's a good film to put on every Christmas, and that's why we do it, isn't it? You know. But yeah.
Okay, next is one a favourite as well, Jingle All the Way, 1996. And essentially the story is that on Christmas Eve, Arnie and Sinbad battle it out to find the latest must-have toy called Turbo Man. And this is meant to sort of mirror the craze that we had in the 80s with like Cabbage Patch Dolls and other hard-to-find Christmas toys.
No, I think it does a good job of capturing that, though, doesn't it? The just the complete carnage of, because it's, to me personally, it's completely alien, because obviously we live in a time now where you can just buy all your shopping online, and actually have to go out and hunt for these toys, and I think it perfectly captures it, you know.
So Arnie plays a business owner. I think he's a mattress business, and he's always too busy working. Again, he neglects his son, played by Jake Lloyd, and his wife, played by Rita Wilson. And he kind of promises his son for Christmas, after missing, I think he misses his karate tournament. And he promises his son that he's going to get him this Turbo Man doll for Christmas, even though his wife had told him to get it weeks ago. So Christmas Eve he sets out. He says to her that he's bought it and he left it at work, so he's just going to go pick it up. And he basically ends up trying to find this toy and not being able to find it. And then he comes across Myron, played by Sinbad, this sort of divorced dad. He's also a postal worker, and he's a bit deranged. And initially they work together, and then they become enemies. And there's he has to battle. There's a police officer that he keeps running across as well. There's a drunken reindeer. His next door neighbour Ted is after his wife.
Oh God,
So it's got every. But again, it's one of those films. Again, I think it's a bit disjointed. It doesn't really. It's trying to be a satire on commercialisation of Christmas, but then you've got like all the slapstick and sort of goofy elements. You got Arnie, who's kind of, this was I think one of his first films that was sort of family friendly film, so he's a little bit wooden, and you got Sinbad, who's trying too hard to be funny, I think. But like, you know, we talked about this the other day, and I said it's not a great film, but that doesn't stop you enjoying it, does it?
Yeah, once again, it's one we put in every year. It's once again, it's a Christmas film. It makes it puts you in the Christmas mood. And like I said, if you can look through all the cheap slapstick, and this is the type of humour. It's got a little person, isn't it? And they use him as sort of butt of some of the jokes. Yeah. If you can look past all that, it captures the whole shopping culture of times gone by very well, and it just puts you in the Christmas mood. But like I said, and obviously we can't forget the classic line, which is
"Put the cookie down."
There you go, Oscars.
So and also you know, look out for a cameo by Jim Belushi as a crooked Santa. Paul Big Show Right is in there as well as a giant Santa,
and you also got Vern Troyer as a mini Santa. Oh, he's an elf, is he?
He was a Santa,
so you got some good little cameos in there as well. But like I said, there's this thing. There's a reason why we put it on every year, and that's because we enjoy it. It puts us in a Christmas mood. I
think Christmas films are meant to make you feel good. I think,
and they do.
And I think you can look past some of the shortcomings of these sort of films, but definitely a good one. Next one, Deck the Halls, 2006.
Then you shit over this.
Well, it's I don't know. It just isn't good. And I think, you know, it stars Matthew Broderick, and he's basically the town's, you know, the Christmas guy. Everyone sort of looks to him. And then one night, Danny DeVito moves in next door. His character's called Buddy Hall, and he's a car salesman, and he feels kind of like he's not achieved anything in life. You know, he constantly gets bored of his jobs. They're constantly moving him and his family from town to town, and his wife's fed up of it. She wants to settle there, so he decides that the big thing he's going to do is that his twin girls show him this satellite, like Google Earth type application, and his is the only house that in his road that you can't see from the satellite. So he vows that you're going to be able to see his house from space. So he goes and he buys up all the Christmas lights, and then he gets into confrontation with Matthew Broderick, who lives opposite him, and then it just ends up in a battle about he doesn't like the fact that Buddy's usurping him as the sort of Christmas guru, and again it's not a great film. I've read.
It sounds completely shit. So.
I read an interview with one of the actresses who worked on it, and she said Danny DeVito wasn't great to work with. He would just fly in each day, not really talk to anybody. Yeah. And Matthew Broderick would walk around the set, basically saying, "Look how low I've sunk." And that's where.
No wonder the film's not good, then, isn't it?
But obviously people like it. It is that kind of got slapstick stuff in it. I'm sure that kids will probably like it. But again, it's just not a great film.
They don't make use of the talent they got. Do they? Danny DeVito as well.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely is a wasted cast.
Yeah. But like I said, it sounds like a pile of shit the way.
So let's quickly move on to the Santa Claus 1994. Basically, Tim Allen causes the death of Santa, and it's the law that whoever puts the suit on has to become Santa, and that's essentially the whole thing. He's divorced. He's estranged from his son. I think when he claims to be Santa, then his ex-wife is trying to I think basically take his son away from him, her and her new husband, and that's essentially it.
Yeah,
that's it. I think it's spawned 2 sequels.
Yeah, it's run of the mill Christmas movie, isn't it? I mean, we're not the biggest fans of Tim Allen, but I can put up with him in this film. Yeah. Like I said, it's one we watch a lot every year, and it's just like the way you said the plot. That's literally what the plot is, isn't it?
It's simple. There's nothing complicated about it. He's just trying to convince everybody that he's Santa.
Yeah.
And he does actually start to, as it gets towards Christmas, he starts putting on weight. He's grows a beard, which he can't shave off. And those kind of some of the, I guess, comedic elements to it. And despite Tim Allen having a criminal record, Disney actually, because it's a Disney policy not to employ somebody. Do you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Criminal record. And he actually did time, I think, for drug trafficking or possession. Yeah. But they sort of overlooked that, and he actually at this point had the biggest rated film, which is Santa Claus, TV show, which was Home Improvement, and book as well, because he had a book out at the same time.
So he was a big start at this point.
He was. Pity that his career didn't really.
But I think the thing we get out of it is that it's a good run-of-the-mill Christmas
and
movie.
it's a Christmas film about Santa. So
I mean, if you don't want to watch Santa's death, then stay clear of this. That's traumatizing. But
well, it's like we said about in our last podcast about every film about Christmas ever. It's always about kids who believe in Santa but parents don't. Yeah. And that's generally the theme that you get. So that segues us into the next film, which is Polar Express, which is 2004. I believe this is the first all motion capture film. I think it's actually in the Guinness Book of Records for being the first.
I didn't realise as well that this is a Bob Zemeckis film.
Yeah, not realised Bob Zemeckis,
But I know it does, because I've seen some behind the scenes stuff in this, and it done so much for motion capture, didn't it? You know, because like you said, it's all the captures are motion capture, and for the time it had really good special effects, didn't it?
Yeah. So essentially, it's just about a young boy who doubts the existence of Santa, boards a Polar Express on its way to the North Pole in Canada, meets Santa, and becomes a true believer. And that's essentially it.
This is the thing, though. It doesn't sound the most exciting, but it's a really good film.
Yeah.
It really is.
You got Tom Hanks, who plays the conductor, and I think other multiple characters as well. I can't think of anybody else who was actually in it.
I don't think anyone big was in it at all. But because I know Tom Hanks, he was a producer, I believe, in this film, and he really believed it. That's why he led the film, you know. But it's a bit of a tearjerker film, isn't it? You know, but it's definitely one we put on every year, isn't it? Because it is. This is the thing. It literally, all the film is literally the kid going. It's the journey on the train. You see, like I said, it showcases what happens on the train, but then obviously you get that final, like, sort of third act. It's got a great soundtrack as well, doesn't it? But, you know, once again, it's a bit run-of-the-mill Christmas movie, but we put it on. It puts us in a good mood, doesn't it? And it's quite nice. It's quite different to see a kid not believe in Santa, isn't it?
No, that's right. Yeah, that's true.
It's a very different take on it, isn't it?
Yeah. So, next one is one that I've not seen too much. Is How the Grinch Stole Christmas 2000, starring Jim Carrey, and it's based on the Dr. Seuss book. And so it's the Grinch is a misanthropic green creature who hates the Christmas holiday, and the Who's, who live in the village Whoville, I think it's called, and they dislike him because of his mean-spiritedness, especially during the holiday season. Then, after failing to prevent Christmas, he finally has an epiphany and realises the true meaning of Christmas as his heart grows 3 sizes. So it's just about his plans to try and ruin Christmas, and obviously that old theme of, you know, the guy, it's almost like a Scrooge theme,
basically,
isn't it? Of the, you know,
once again, I don't know about you, but I don't mind him. I'm not the biggest fan of Jim Carrey, but he does put in a very good performance in this, and like you said, it is a very Scrooge-esque performance, a bit more over the top, obviously. But yeah, it's not one of I don't put it on every year. I think to be fair, the last time I watched this was probably, it was in school time probably, but it's not one I know this is loved. It's really loved by most people, but
because I think there's a more recent animated version. Isn't
there is
as well.
I think I absolutely slammed that version.
And then there was actually an animated version in the 60s, I believe, which was narrated by Boris Karloff. Most famously,
But no, I think the reason why we include it is obviously because we know how renowned it is, isn't it? You know what I mean?
People will love it or hate it. I mean,
but yeah, I'm kind of middle ground with it, you know. I respect it. I respect it, you know.
So next one is controversial, to say the least.
Somehow controversial too.
Which is Die Hard, which is 1988, and there's a lot of controversy surrounds this film as being, is it a Christmas film or not, and what constitutes a Christmas film. Does a Christmas film have to include Christmas themes, or is it just good enough for it to be just set at Christmas? Because there's a few films that fall into this category, and some of them we've actually included on here, and a lot of these are actually included on a lot of Christmas lists as well. But I think Die Hard is a...
What's the thing? I had an argument with someone, actually, because we both feel strong about this film. One, they mentioned Christmas countless times. 2, it's Christmas themed. There's trees and everywhere, there's decorations. 3, Let It Snow is the theme song of it, so there you go. And 4, I always hear this thing where people say it's not Christmas because it would still happen if it wasn't Christmas, but no, it wouldn't, because all the people, they wouldn't have had, Hans Gruber would not have had his hostages if they wouldn't have had a Christmas party, and John would not have come home for Christmas if it wasn't for Christmas. So I think that's a load of bullshit. And of course it's a Christmas movie. You know what I mean? If anything, Die Hard mentions more about Christmas and is more of a Christmas movie than a lot of this on this list. You know, it practically throws it in your face that it's a Christmas movie. It just happens to be also the greatest action movie of all time. So you know, I mean, I think it does get overshadowed by the action because you know when you think of like John McTiernan, you don't think of Christmas movies, do you? But no, 100% it's a Christmas movie. Of course it is. Yeah. I don't. Not one person who said it's not a Christmas movie has put forward any good arguments for it. You know,
he kills the guy, sends him down in the lift with a Santa hat on.
Yeah.
Now I've got a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho. So, there you go, Christmas.
You tell me how that's not a Christmas movie. And even Die Hard 2 is a Christmas movie, isn't it? You know? This is the thing. Like, differentiate Die Hard 1 and 2 from Die Hard 3. Die Hard 3 is not a Christmas movie. You know? Then you look at Die Hard 1. Of course it is. Like, I just don't get this whole argument where it's not. You know, it just is. And there's a reason why they show it at Christmas all every year. And like, obviously, me and Robbo went to cinema recently. Yeah. Last week, what was it, December 6th?
Yeah, and to watch.
What event is in Christmas as well? I think in December it's Christmas, isn't it? So yeah, of course it's a Christmas movie.
Okay, thank you for that.
I was going to get very overheated.
Yeah, so Die Hard. Yeah, New York cop John McClane finds himself in the middle of a hostage crisis while attending his wife's Christmas party. That's basically
the.
I
think we've said all we need to, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah, originally it was actually going to be Frank Sinatra, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was because he did the.
There was a film called Detective Story, which was based, I think, on another book. I think it was Roderick Thorpe wrote the book, and he had an option then that any subsequent films he could get first refusal on. So I don't know, 1988. He must have been in his.
He was really old,
70s,
and that was one of the reasons why he didn't do it. But Bruce Willis is actually in that movie, in the other one. Yeah. And I think, obviously, at the time he was in TV show.
Moonlighting.
That's it, yeah. So he wasn't a huge movie star, he was, just basically turned it. But yeah, I think...
Yeah. Because I think like Clint Eastwood turned it down. Yeah. The usual Stallone, Schwarzenegger. But I think that's what we've said this before. What makes it more appealing is the fact that it is an everyman.
Yeah.
You know, he's not this kind of muscle-bound superhero, doesn't have any special powers.
He's just a guy in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Exactly. A victim of it. And that was going to be the model for a lot of films from that.
It's the thing, Die Hard just revolutionised the whole action genre. You know, countless movies, it's Die Hard on a plane, Die Hard in so-and-so, you know, and what it done for that. It's the reason, like I said before, I think maybe people don't see it as a Christmas movie because it is just it's such a brilliant action movie, as well as obviously being a Christmas movie. Well, but
it's considered probably by a lot of people the greatest action film of all time, and like you say, it's influenced so many films after that as well.
So maybe that's the reason why people don't consider it a Christmas movie. But yeah, I do, and I think we're both in agreement that it is. If you're a film fan, you have to. If you haven't watched this, then where have you been? Because you have to watch this film. That's one of the backbone films that you need to watch. Definitely. You know, but
okay, moving on. Gremlins, 1984. Now, this takes part. The whole thing, film takes part at Christmas, and the Mogwai's given to
Billy's dad.
Billy as a present for Christmas. But is it actually? Could it be considered a Christmas film? If you take the strict, the Christmas themes, it hasn't got Santa Claus. It's not, all right. You got people learning a lesson, but you could consider this not a Christmas film as well. But
this thing, I think, I get where people come from, but still, it just is a Christmas movie. You know what I mean? This is the thing. Why would a director or writer decide to have their film take place in Christmas if they weren't intended to be a Christmas movie? It just does not make sense.
Obviously, it's an important plot device because
it is, because it's a gift. It was Billy's gift from his dad.
Billy's dad is a struggling inventor. He visits a Chinatown antique store home to find a Christmas present for Billy, and inside Randall encounters a small furry creature called a Mogwai. And the owner, Mr. Wing, refused to sell Randall the creature, but his grandson secretly sells it to him. But there's 3 important rules. Do not expose the Mogwai to light, especially sunlight, which will kill it. Do not let it come into contact with water, and above all, never feed it after midnight. We covered this in a plot hole episode. What does it's relative, isn't it? Midnight, but anyway. So what happens? It accidentally gets fed after midnight. So it accidentally gets splashed with water,
multiplies,
and then it multiplies, and then the leader of the new group of
it's called Stripe,
because he got a stripe. He breaks Billy's alarm clock, or I think he maybe sets the time on it, and he ends up feeding them after midnight.
Yeah.
And that's when they turn from these lovable, fluffy little mogwai into gremlins.
Yeah.
And then they take over the whole town. Because I think one of them falls into the swimming pool, doesn't it?
Yeah, they
do. Multiplies.
Yeah. But no, like I said, I with Gremlins, the reason why Billy got Gizmo, which is the main Mogwai, the first one, the one that was purchased in the store, is the main reason why he received that is because of Christmas. It was a Christmas gift, and they've also got Christmas music throughout. There's snow throughout. There's a scene where they buy their tree and stuff.
Yeah.
You cannot tell me that's not Christmas, man. Like I said before, I think it's a good point where while the director set their film at Christmas, if they weren't intending to at least be not full out Christmas movie, but it had major influence
Christmas
over
was
it.
an important part of it. Yeah,
it just doesn't make sense to me why they do that. But
Gremlins, I think, was directed by Joe Dante, who I think was the production designer on Jaws, and I believe that he directed Jaws 3D as well, and I think he did Spielberg produce this film.
Yeah, Spielberg was
he worked closely with Spielberg on it as well.
He was a huge influence of Spielberg. He loved this film, that's why he produced it. But this is one for me. I remember watching this when I was a young kid. This is one I've grown up watching. I love this film. I put it on every single year. I've even sometimes watched it when it's not been Christmas. I absolutely love this film. I just think it's a proper feel-good film, you know what I mean? At the end, the payoff is very good, but it's definitely one I'll watch every single year.
So I don't know if you remember, we did a sequels that never got made.
Yeah, and there was a third one, wasn't there?
No, this is about a sequel to Close Encounters that Spielberg was going to make. About evil aliens. Do you not remember attacking a house?
Yep. And
that kind of morphed into E.T. So this might be Spielberg's kind of evil alien film.
Yeah.
That he
well, no,
made.
like I said, I know Spielberg. He was the executive on this film.
Yeah.
It was his film. It was a lot of people may even think he directed it because it's his film.
Yeah.
It's his name on the film associated with this. But it was huge influence over this. And I think it was his pet project. You know what I mean? Even though Joe Dante directed it, but I really like this film. I really do.
Yeah.
And also think about it. Billy's watching it while they're chowing down on their chicken, which is a disgusting scene. Billy's watching It's a Wonderful Life, isn't he?
Yeah.
With Gizmo sat there as well.
Yeah. That seems to be a lot of Christmas films feature that, A Wonderful Life. We'll get onto that one later. But so Gremlins 2, do you remember? I can't actually remember.
So Gremlins 2 is not a Christmas movie.
No.
It's set in a office building in, I believe, New York.
Hasn't Billy got a job in this office building? Yeah,
he's a suit in a office building, I think, and they attack this office block in New York, I believe. So there you go. That one example of the difference. That's Gremlins 1 Christmas movie, that not. So there you go. Compare the two, and you'll understand with our points. But it's always on in our household, particularly on Christmas Day as well. Yeah, I always put it on. So
Good. So moving on.
I'll let you take the reins for this one.
Yeah, next film is Klaus, 2019. It's an original Netflix film. I think it's Netflix's first full-length animated film. I think it's Netflix's first animated film to be nominated for an Academy Award. And it basically serves as an alternate origin story of Santa Claus, independent from the historical take of St. Nicholas, and using a fictional 19th century setting. And the plot essentially revolves around a postman stationed in an island town to the far north who befriends a reclusive toy maker called Klaus. And it's got Klaus is voiced by the guy from Whiplash whose name escapes me, J.K. Simmons. There you go, it just came to me. And it's essentially this postman goes to this town where his father's the postmaster general. He's gone through post school or college or whatever, and he's like one of these privileged rich kids, doesn't do anything, he's hoping to get kicked out and sent back to his cushy lifestyle, but his dad instead sends him to this town where there's 2 warring clans and nobody posts anything. So he has to get someone to get them to post. I think it's 6,000 items before he can go home. So he's trying to encourage people to post these letters, and then he meets Klaus, who's this reclusive toy maker who lives in the woods. He's got this quite a sad backstory, and they decide to work together to actually deliver some of Klaus's wooden toys to the kids. And then what starts to happen is the kids start writing letters to Santa, and then it kind of reunites the town because the kids from different rival clans start to play together. They reopen the school because some of them can't read or write, and they want to be able to write a letter to Santa, so that causes the school to reopen. So it's I think it's a Spanish-English co-production. Director was Spanish. It was using it's traditional animation, but then they use CGI to make it more three-dimensional. But it's a beautiful film. It is quite sad as well. Got a sad ending to it, which I won't spoil. But like I say, it's definitely it's a different interpretation of the whole Santa story. And it probably will become I don't know if it will be a classic that you'll watch every year, but maybe now and again. But it definitely is a Christmas film.
So that's a tearjerker as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, reduced me to tears, and I'm a grown man. So, so moving on. Now, I always love a good Christmas Carol. That's my favourite Christmas story. And so there's loads of versions of Christmas Carol, Scrooge, etc. And so the one we've chosen is Disney's Christmas Carol, which is 2009, another Robert Zemeckis film, and again another one using motion capture. And Jim Carrey plays multiple characters. He plays obviously Scrooge. He plays all 3 ghosts as well. Don't know if he plays. I can't remember if he plays Jacob Marley or not. Gary Oldman as Bob Cratchit. He's always can't go wrong there, can you? Really? No. And again, it's just a nice version of Christmas Carol.
And I think as well, because I remember seeing this in the cinema when I was younger, and it's one that I've grown up with as well. But where it's animated and it's got the modern animation, there's a lot of different sort of effects and stuff you may not have been able to see in the original classics, isn't it? It can take it to new lengths.
Well, it's like in the book, Ghost of Christmas Past is represented by this bright light, which they did in this animated version that they struggled to do with a real actor in previous versions. And like you say, with animation, you can pretty much do anything. Yeah. And there's a few bits that just kind of drag I think just uses it as padding, really. There's the whole scene with the carriage when Death's after him and he's going through the sewer and the drain pipe and stuff.
I know what you mean.
It doesn't really move the story along, but like I say, it's an enjoyable film. I always love this story anyway.
Yeah.
And that leads us into our next film, which is Scrooged, which is 1988. And this is a modern retelling of the whole Scrooge story, and it stars Bill Murray. And this time, Scrooge is a miserly TV executive, and he's actually trying to put on a live version of A Christmas Carol. That's their show that they're putting on. And yeah, he's visited by the ghost of Christmas Past, who is a taxi driver, Christmas Present, who's a fairy, and obviously yet to come, who is Death. And he reconnects with an old girlfriend who's played by
Karen Allen.
Karen Allen, that's the one. I think this is the only other film I've seen her in, other than Raiders of the Lost Ark. She's probably done loads, but maybe I've just not seen her in them. But yeah, it's an interesting take on the on the whole classic Dickens story.
It's nice, even though I love the Christmas Carol story, it's refreshing to see it in a different landscape, isn't it? You know, because even the Jim Carrey animated one, it's still set in that Victorian period, isn't it?
Century,
so it's different to see it in a modern, and they have different takes on the ghosts and stuff. You know, like obviously in the original, you would never have seen him the ghost as like a taxi driver. So it's just refreshing to see it in a modern setting.
Yeah, and it's just slight, obviously aspects of his life that he sees. You know, as a young man. With such great hopes, and then you become embittered and twisted, and I
also think Bill Murray it's a legendary performance, isn't it? And you always see it in. But you know, it's one I try and watch every year. The
thing with Bill Murray is there's always elements of improv that he does. I think the whole scene at the end was he improvised it, which.
It goes to show how talented he is, isn't it? You know, and obviously dating back to his SNL days, probably. But if you haven't watched this, then definitely watch it, because it's really nice just to see it, the whole Christmas Carol story in a much updated setting, isn't it? So,
moving on to Miracle on 34th Street. Now, this is the 1994 version. There was a 1947 version as well. But essentially, it's the same kind of story. You've got department store Santa. Called Kris Kringle, played by Richard Attenborough, and he claims to be the real Santa. And when he's set up by a rival store, he basically has to go to court and prove that he is the real Santa Claus, which he does. So it's kind of a feel-good film. It's obviously set at Christmas time. You've got Santa himself, he claims to be, and a court case,
because they go together, don't they?
But it's again, it's quite a sad film in a bit of a tearjerker, but it's a feel good film as well. Might not be the greatest Christmas film, but I've seen it on a lot of lists of it might be a lot of people's favourites.
And I think we both always appreciate Richard Attenborough being on screen, don't we? So
definitely. Moving on, Home Alone, 1990. Again, it's people always cite Home Alone as their favourite Christmas film, but is it a Christmas film? Apart from being set at Christmas, Kevin's family go away to Paris for Christmas, they forget him.
Yes,
apart from being set at Christmas,
it's a home invasion story,
it's home invasion. Yeah. And then you've got two inept burglars played by Daniel Stern and the man himself, Joe Pesci. And I think even Joe Pesci didn't believe in the film that much. That's why he sort of reckoned he kind of overacted a bit, gave a bit of a larger than life performance, which lends to the film. There's been a lot of criticism about this film.
Well, listen, this just goes to show I thought the geezer was Bob Hoskins. That goes to show how much I've watched. I didn't realise it was Joe Pesci. I don't watch this film. I know it's like, once again, people got their pitchfork aimed at me, but it's just it's never appealed. Maybe if I was younger, but really, apart from, I think it is a movie aimed at the younger generation, isn't it? Or I've just never grown up with this movie.
But they are pretty incompetent thieves. I don't know, Family Guy did a skit on Home Alone with competent thieves, and they just come in and they go, this doorknob's a little bit hot, I'll just let go of it. There's ice going down to the basement, I just won't go down there. And then the kid appears at the top of the stairs and they just shoot him. So
it is probably the most slapstick movie going, isn't it? And
it is.
It's that cheap, shitty slapstick, isn't it? And I've never got the appeal for this film at all. I know it was absolutely huge, wasn't it?
Well, it spawned, I think, 2 sequels, and then they've
Disney.
I don't know whether it's a reboot or a reimagining, but there's one out now, isn't there? As well.
It's been absolutely slammed. But I've just never got the appeal to this film. I really haven't. And like you said, using that same, sort of argument, then think about this is a Christmas movie to me, but once again, I don't find it thrilling. I actually prefer the sequel to it, but even then, I've just never grown up with this movie, and I've not had the appeal to it. So,
yeah, again, it's not one of my. I think I can't remember the last time I saw it.
Yeah, it's been years since I've seen it.
It's not one that I tend to watch regularly, anyway. So, apologies to people who love it.
Yeah.
Moving on to a rather different, darker Christmas film, Bad Santa, which is 2003, and it stars Billy Bob Thornton as the titular character. He's basically a safecracker, and what they do is he plays. He's a department store Santa, sort of in a mall, and then what he does then, obviously that gives them inside knowledge, and I think it's Christmas Eve. They basically break into the safe and steal all the money, and then what happens is he befriends a young. Well, I say befriends this young kid. He basically uses this young kid because he's home on his own. So he essentially squats at this kid's house. But sort of in the end, he kind of comes good. So it's a story about, again, maybe redemption.
But hasn't this also got a sequel as well?
But I've not seen it.
I've not. I don't think it has Billy Bob Thornton in it either.
It does, I think.
There's actually...
Yeah,
yeah,
it's got the original... Because there's him and I can't remember the guy who plays the elf, but they're in it. I don't know. I couldn't tell you what it's about.
No.
But I say it's one that I've... Because I don't know, sequels always tend to be not great.
Especially Christmas sequels always seem to be disappointing.
I mean, this was an okay film, I think. Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's not for kids.
Yeah. And it is different. It's funny just to see a bad Santa, isn't it? But
it is.
I think that's as far as the need to watch it. I think that's all it has, really, the pulling power to watch this film, isn't it? It's just a run-of-the-mill Christmas movie again, isn't it? But it's not one I watch every year, but if I feel like seeing a bad Santa, then I'll put it on, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Moving on to Christmas Chronicles 2018. That's another Netflix original. Again, it's a pretty run-of-the-mill Santa Claus story. It's about two young kids who've lost their father just before Christmas. He was a true believer. The younger sibling, the daughter, she is a true believer. The older sibling, who was a boy, has lost his Christmas spirit. She's looking over old videos of Christmas Eve and notices this hand coming to shot, and she thinks it's Santa. So they decide. Their mum works in a hospital and she's called away on Christmas Eve to go to work, so they're left home on their own. They decide to stay up and try and trap Santa, get him on video, and it actually works.
Yeah.
And what they do is they go outside, they see Santa's sleigh, and they stow away on his sleigh. He takes off, they startle him, they end up going through a wormhole, which is how Santa can go. He's got this little device that creates a wormhole that allows him to go from place to place quickly. They end up in Chicago, they lose the reindeer, and they crash the sleigh. And it's not a bad film. No. They have to help Santa get back his reindeer, repair the sleigh, and finish the deliveries.
I mean, the best part about this film
is Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell as Santa Claus.
He would have been about 68 or 69 when he made this, and I've got to say,
I think he plays a good Santa.
Pretty good Santa.
He plays a really good Santa, and I can see him as Santa. You know what I mean?
Santa gets arrested and put in jail, and there's a scene in there which is pure, just I think, indulgence from Kurt Russell. He has to raise Christmas spirit, so he gives everybody in the jail an instrument, and they all then start. They start playing these instruments, and he's then singing, which he can sing because actually he was in a TV movie, wasn't he?
He used to be back in Disney days, wasn't it?
A biopic of Elvis. He did.
Oh yeah. Baba Hotep, was it?
No, it was Elvis.
Oh no, that's Bruce Campbell. Isn't it?
Yeah.
What the fuck am I on about?
It was actually a biopic of Elvis. In I think the late 70s.
He also used to be be in Disney.
Yeah,
films, didn't he?
But obviously he can sing.
Yeah. Do you reckon he put that in himself?
But then in Christmas Chronicles 2, the same thing happens. He ends up at the airport, and suddenly everyone's got instruments.
He probably wrote that into his contract, didn't he, just to showcase that.
But yeah, I mean, it's a serviceable Christmas film.
One is definitely better than two, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
I don't even think they needed a two, really, but...
Well, the two, I mean, obviously two, he got, obviously nepotism, he got his Goldie Hawn to be Mrs. Claus.
Yeah.
I mean, she appears at the end of Christmas Chronicles as Mrs. Claus. I think one of her kids is in it. She plays the dead dad. He plays, the dead dad. I think some of their grandkids are in it as well. So it's all, definitely a bit of indulgence by Kurt Russell. But yeah, I think he does make a good Santa.
Yeah, he does. Like I said, it's Kurt Russell.
I know.
Fucking legend, man.
Oh, yeah, Snake Plissken as Santa.
Don't call me Santa.
Okay, so moving on is
Snowman.
Yeah, it's a British TV
probably
film, cartoon, 1982. It's based on...
Was it Channel 4, was it?
Yeah, Channel 4. Based on a book by Raymond Briggs. So it may not be big outside of the UK.
It's a tradition, though, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's essentially about a kid builds a snowman, it comes to life, they have a bit of fun, and then it melts.
Yeah.
So it's
about what, like 20 minutes, is it, the film?
Yeah,
it's not
25.
It's like a short film.
Yeah, and they did make a sequel called Snowman and the Snow Dog.
Snow Dog, yeah. But it's an institution over here, isn't it?
It's a charming, delightful film. It's sad. It brought us the famous song.
Walking in the air.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. And in 1982, for animation as well.
Yeah,
it's very good animation, isn't it?
Yeah. If you go on to our Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, that is one of our Advent kind of films, and I think it's the one. It might be I think it's the 17th of December.
Yeah.
But yeah, you look at the animation, because that's HD as well, which does make a difference. But yeah, it's a nice family film.
It's always shown on Christmas Eve as well, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, it's not action adventure or anything. No. It's just a nice gentle animation.
Yeah. It's one you got to watch, isn't it? Because it is that. But like I said, it's much more. I think it's probably only shown in the UK, isn't it? But
it's probably I think they get like BBC in America and
maybe.
That. So I think they get other stuff.
Well, you know what we're on about if you see it, innit? But
I think you could actually. I think it's available on online probably as well.
Yeah, probably some way if you type it in on YouTube or something.
So moving on to something completely different to that. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, 1989.
This is a classic, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, and it's just essentially the Griswolds' house Christmas with parents, in-laws and other relatives making it Christmas you can never forget. So,
and it certainly is a Christmas you never forget.
It's the third film in the National Lampoon's Vacation series. This one is different because it's set completely at home, the Griswold household. Clark, as ever, he wants to plan this perfect Christmas, which just gets ruined by his parents arriving, in-laws, next-door neighbours,
various shenanigans,
and cousin Eddie.
Yes.
Oh, actually, I do quite like, even though he's complete mental case scuzzball, but he's funny.
Yeah, he is. I think this film is funny. It's really funny, but I think this film captures perfectly about the whole hecticness around Christmas and with the family.
Well, it's like even you want to have that perfect family Christmas, and
just the stress and what it perfectly captures.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it was written and produced by John Hughes, who obviously made Home Alone and Planes, Trains and Automobiles, and it's actually based on a short story he wrote for the National Lampoon magazine, and originally I think Chris Columbus was going to direct it, but he, I think, had creative differences with Chevy Chase.
Right.
He claims, not me, that Chase was difficult to work with. Yeah. So he left the project, and that's when he was offered Home Alone. So he did a good choice, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I mean, the comedy is hit and miss. Not every joke lands, but it's slapstick. Yeah, it's goofy.
And just especially it ramps up when Eddie's there. And,
Yeah, and it does get a little bit bogged down in sentiment, which John Hughes films do. Yeah, but I think it's I actually prefer this to the European Vacation.
I do as well.
I think it's a better film than that. And did you know there was a sequel to it? National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation 2.
Does it have Chevy Chase in it?
No, it's not. It's centred around Eddie.
Oh, really? Shit.
And I think it's a made-for-TV film.
When did it come out? Was it after? Was it 90s?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Is it the same actor as Eddie?
Yeah, it's Randy Quaid. Apparently, he gets a job where he's working alongside a chimp.
I've got to see this.
And he gets bitten by this chimp, and the company he works for are scared that he's going to sue them.
Yeah.
So they offer him this all-expenses holiday somewhere.
Yeah.
And he ends up going on a boat and getting lost and ended up on an island.
Mate, anything with a chimp in. Imagine Chimp and Eddie, mate.
Yeah. So, yeah. I might
give that a gander, mate, yeah. Anything, like I said, anything with chimp in.
Yeah.
But no, like you said, is it a absolute perfect like Christmas classic? No, but once again it does capture those themes, and it's very feel good at the end, isn't it? Because the whole theme throughout is family, isn't it? Yeah. And at the end it has, and it's one of the only Christmas movies where Christmas Day isn't featured on it, isn't it?
It stops at Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Well done. That was one of my trivias on Instagram.
Really? Oh wow! Yeah. Oh wow!
So that's some good knowledge.
Thank you.
So moving on again. It's a Wonderful Life, 1946. Is it a Christmas film? Because it's set at Christmas. You know, there's Christmas themes there, but it doesn't really involve Christmas that much, isn't the core?
Yeah, true.
But anyway, obviously stars James Stewart. Is a lot of people's favourite Christmas film. And the plot really is after $8,000 is misplaced from his building and loan company, George Bailey contemplates suicide. Guardian angel Clarence visits him and shows him what the world would be like if he'd never existed, which is a pretty good trick, really.
Yeah.
When this first came out, it was a flop. It was absolutely lambasted. People hated it. And as such, for some reason, every so often, I think it's every 20-something years, you have to renew copyright on stuff. And they felt, whether it was a purposeful decision or a clerical error, they failed to renew it. So that meant that people could show it for free. And that's why it's become a sort of Christmas staple, because everybody then would show it at Christmas because they didn't have to pay for it.
And that's maybe why it answers your question of why it's in loads of Christmas movies, maybe.
Yeah. But it's a brilliant story, you know, getting to see the world, how the world would look without you in it.
It's a question many of us have, isn't it? You know?
Yeah. And obviously it's got a feel-good ending when the people of the town all come together and help him out. So that's maybe that's the kind of spirit of Christmas.
Yeah.
So that maybe that is why it's this
such a Christmas institution, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, it's a brilliant film. I always watch it every year, and again it is a bit of a tearjerker.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, definitely worth giving a look.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Moving on from that to and again a different film. Trading Places, 1983, which has got Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd in it. Again, is it really a Christmas film? It's set at Christmas. Yeah. Dan Aykroyd dresses up as a scuzzy Santa, but apart from that, it's not really got any Christmas themes in it. But it is considered by a lot of people to be a Christmas film. And then, but it's essentially it's Dan Aykroyd's this kind of wealthy stockbroker. And the people who own his company, they're brothers, so they have this bet. It's all about nature versus nurture. And one of them says, no, you got to have the right breeding and upbringing. And the other guy thinks, no, you can take anybody and make them into a successful businessman. And they do it. So they essentially ruined Dan Aykroyd They plant drugs on him. He gets fired, loses his girlfriend, all his house, everything, and they take penniless conman Eddie Murphy off the street, and they try to groom him into being this successful businessman. And it turns out the bet that they made was only for $1. So they basically ruined this guy's life over $1. But in the end, they get their own back on the two, and they end up penniless right at the end. So again, and you get to see Jamie Lee Curtis naked.
Yeah, which is right. That's everyone turning on that movie now.
Right, this is where we instantly get cancelled. It's an adult Christmas film.
Yeah.
It's a good film. I think it doesn't necessarily have to be set at Christmas. It could be set. Maybe they do it just so they can get it out as a Christmas film.
Yeah, maybe
at Christmas time.
Yeah, I didn't think about that actually.
Maybe it's a marketing thing. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. Moving on to what I think is definitive version of A Christmas Carol, and this is Scrooge, the 1951 version with Alistair Sim. We all know the story of Scrooge. You know, this miser. He's visited by first his ghost of his business partner, who warns him about his future, and then he's visited by three spirits: ghost of Christmas, past, present, future. And then at the end, he kind of redeems himself. He realises the errors of his ways, and vows to be generous.
Well, I agree with you. I think this is obviously the best version of A Christmas Carol. I also think Alistair Sims gives the best portrayal as Scrooge as well.
Because a lot of subsequent films tend to draw on his version of Scrooge. I think they tend to try and sort of copy him, but it's
one we watch every single year. We're in it without fail.
I think they have a colorized version of it as well.
Do they?
But I think it's just nicer in the traditional black and white.
Yeah.
So moving on to another Christmas Carol version, and this is my all-time favourite and my all-time favourite Christmas film. Is Muppet Christmas Carol, 1992. What more do you want? You've got Michael Caine as Scrooge, boom. Kermit as Bob Cratchit, boom. And Gonzo as Charles Dickens, boom. What more do you want?
Good night, everyone.
But yeah, I mean, you've got. I mean, Michael Caine. All right, it wasn't. This is a period of time when he wasn't, what big actor like he is now. Obviously hadn't had the collaboration with his sort of, I don't know, what's the Michael Caine version of the McConaughey's?
Oh,
Michael Cainehan's. I don't know.
Have quite the ring to it, don't they? But
because obviously he did Anna and Her Sisters, which he got an Oscar for, which he couldn't collect because he was filming Jaws 4 or Jaws the Revenge, and then he did obviously like Cider House Rules, which he got an Oscar for as well. And then obviously most recently he's noted for his collaboration with Christopher Nolan.
This was sort of in a dry patch, wasn't it, for him, wasn't it? Because obviously he was a huge star in the 60s, 70s, and then kind of, but no, I think like I said, it's not a Brando performance, is it? But I mean, it's Michael Caine and Scrooge. You know what I mean?
When he agreed to do it, he said, "Right," he said, "I'm going to take it seriously. I'm going to give like a performance like I was like a dramatic performance. I want to try my hardest."
I think it's a really good performance.
And I think that's the only way you can play it.
Yeah,
really. I think if you sort of try and be goofy and tongue in cheek, I don't think it works.
No. Well, it sort of counters the old Muppets.
It's like being a straight man to the Muppets.
Yeah, and it just works, doesn't it?
Yeah. Like I say, it's my favourite film, and it's a tradition that. We always watch this on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, always, every year, always, without fail.
And for those of you who live in the UK, I believe that's being re-released. I certainly know that it is in the View cinemas. I think it's around about the 20-something of December.
Yeah.
So, if you want to see in the big screen, get down to your local View Cinema.
But no, I just don't. Of course, what part of it must be for you personally? Part of it must be nostalgic.
Well, yeah, because I obviously grew up with the Muppets.
Yeah.
I remember the original Muppet Show, and it's you can't imagine how big the Muppets were. I mean, everybody wanted to be on the Muppet Show.
Yeah.
Big stars, like Sylvester Stallone was on the Muppet Show. That's how big they were. And I suppose, there's nostalgia there. But I think it is one of the
it's a really
better
good film.
of the Muppet films.
And once again, it just is. It throws it completely in your face, punch in the face. That it's a Christmas movie, and it is, isn't it? You know?
Yeah. And it's that Christmas Carol story.
Yeah,
Which
and I think as well. Maybe because maybe people think it's a Muppets themed Christmas Carol, but it doesn't take away from the story at all, does it?
No, that's all. So that's it. What's your favourite Christmas film? Just by
I think for film, out of these it's definitely Die Hard, but I think my favourite film that is a definitive, all just based on the Christmas movie is either Jingle All the Way or Gremlins. I think for me, but I think the best film on the list is Die Hard, but I'd say Jingle All the Way or Gremlins.
Okay.
What about you? Yours is
Muppet. I'd like to say Die Hard. Obviously, I'm always going to be a fan of Die Hard. I mean, it's just amazing to be able to see it in the cinema.
I'm going to carry that to my grave. Well,
Muppet Christmas Carol is the greatest cinematic Christmas event of all time, and officially endorsed by Santa himself. Disclaimer: that might be not true. Well, so thanks for joining me again. That's it. It's Christmas.
So we wish you a very Merry Christmas, and
I'm not sure if we're going to have a little break over Christmas. So if we don't see you till the new year, have a very happy Christmas.
We're not going to have another 4-month hiatus. So
happy Christmas and a peaceful new year.
Thank you
for joining us, and goodbye.
Bye.